Welcome more to a bit of a discussion, really. This is going to be just a little rant slash discussion on what I think the meta is going to look like, or what the meta looks like now, really. It's just obviously like my opinion and stuff like that. It's going to go with things that like I kind of know of, like TCG. Nothing legit. I'm not going to throw in like random facts in or anything like that. It's just going to go through what I know of my knowledge about TCG and stuff like that. And what I feel like the meta is, in my opinion, and that, to me, is broken right now. Specifically for one deck entirely. I kind of mentioned this on my video on my deck build on Rillaboom VMAX. If I remember, I will put it in the description if you guys want to check that out. But the only thing about it is that we faced ADP Zacian, and I think that was kind of the breaking point for me to say that I do not like ADP Zacian. The whole point of it is that ADP Zacian right now is probably still the best deck running, even though Rebel Clash just came out at the time of this video about, say, 2.5 weeks ago. ADP Zacian is still running the format heavy, and it's not slowed down at all. In fact, it's gained somehow even more like momentum than before, which is crazy. So ADP Zacian, for those of you who might be new to the game, who might not know exactly what I'm talking about, ADP Zacian is the combination of both Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia Tag Team GX, and Zacian V. Arceus, Dialga, Palkia Tag Team came out in Cosmic Eclipse, and then Zacian V came out in the expansion after that, Sword and Shield base. ADP has 2 attacks, one of which is just normal attack, one of which is GX attack. I've got them right here on my screen anyway. ADP for 1 water, 1 steel, and 1 colorless energy does ultimate ray for 150 damage. It seems like a bit complex, but it's somehow doable very easily. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to any Pokemon on your side in any way that you like, which is crazy. But then for the weird energy cost, it's kind of rewarding, which I can see that. It's like many decks are kind of difficult to kind of get running, but there are some that can do it. For example, fire decks can mix around with pretty much anything that needs colorless, or anything that needs one type of something plus colorless. Like for example, I've been seeing a lot of the new Milotic V from Rebel Clash being used with Welder, because all it needs is 1 water energy and then just colorless. You could throw it in pretty much anything as long as you have 1 either rainbow, 1 aurora, or 1 water energy. You can basically throw Milotic in almost any deck that needs special energy or anything like that. It's decent. So decks that kind of can't get this accelerant running, I see this attack as kind of rewarding, because obviously, like, you think, oh, water type, well, you could just use like Frostmoth. Frostmoth only attaches water energy to water Pokemon, which ADP isn't. It's a dragon type, because all 3 of them share a dragon type thing, except for Dialga, but whatever, it's just complex to get into right now. We'll get into that another time or whatever. Steel type, again, you could say, oh, why not use Metal Saucer? Again, Metal Saucer is only for bench Steel type Pokemon, which again is for not ADP. But we'll get to that in a minute. And obviously the colorless is just for whatever. Before Sword and Shield base came out, a lot of people like to use Victini from, I think it was Cosmic Eclipse as well, but I'm not sure. There was a Victini that also let you attach 2 energy of different types to any of your Pokemon any way that you like. Normally you do this turn 1, put on energy on Victini, either rainbow energy or even a fire energy if you want to go crazy, then get water and steel, put it on ADP, and then next turn switch out, bring on ADP, do auto creation, or even attach energy to ultimate ray if you think you can get ahead of the game that way, and then that'll be it. But I think the thing that kind of bothers me the most is its GX attack. By the way, for its first attack, obviously, yeah, I find it rewarding. Just wrapping this up, I find this rewarding. The attack is decent. It's not too overpowered. It's not too underpowered. It's good for what a tag team can do. It's balanced in terms of the circumstance that you use after it, and it's balanced in terms of the damage that it can do. It can't take out all of the board, but it takes out some of the board. But then most tag teams can take out pretty much most of the board if it has the right energy anyway. But yeah, that's it. Its GX attack, however, is kind of the thing that bothers me a bit. So for 1 steel energy, you can pop it off. You can just pop off the GX attack like that. But No one really does that. Everyone kind of waits for the option to add an extra water energy, which I'm just going to say straight away. So it's GX attack lets you, for the rest of the game, not just your turn, not just like for the next couple of turns or whatever, or just this Pokemon, for the rest of your game, all of your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage on top of what they already do. And if it has an extra water energy, which again, what everyone likes to do, they like to wait turn 2, slap on both energy and then do it that way. Any Pokemon that you knock out, whether it be from an attack, from an ability, from anything, you get an extra prize, which is crazy. You've then in 2 energy, so basically on your turn 2, if you go first, the turn you actually get to attack, you can literally break the whole game into a fast-paced setting because of this ability. To me, this is, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's like, to me, this kind of makes it no challenge for it, because then it's like, by your second turn, when you get to attack for your first time, use GX attack. By its really racked up HP, it won't go down very easily. And then by your next turn, you could do 180, because again, it pluses 30 on your original 150. And that's majority of your basic GXs. At the time before Pokemon Vs were out, this was insane. This was crazy. And then on top of that, you attach 3 basic energy on top of that, which again, most Pokemon who do a fair bit of damage take 3 energy anyway. Off the top of my head, things like Giratina does like a decent amount of damage for 3 energy. Buzzwole and Pheromosa does decent amount of damage for 3 energy, but being in mind it does less damage the turn afterwards, but there's obviously ways around that. There used to be a lot of cards that could hit a high amount of damage for just 3 energy. Like, obviously you've got the ones that hit possibly higher for 2 or whatever, but 3 is kind of like that weird middle ground where it's like, that's a rewarding amount to do a good bit of damage, which is insane. So that just goes beyond me. It's crazy. It's really insane. But I think at the time of Cosmic Eclipse, it didn't bother me that much because we had ways of getting around ADP. More specifically of their weakness, which I'm going to get to in a second. Again, ADP, mainly thing was its weakness, because again, fairy types, we had. I put emphasis on had because again, I'm going to get there in a second. We had things like Gardevoir and Sylveon, which was probably the main thing that could get rid of ADP. It was pretty much a one-shot kill against Gardevoir Sylveon, because by, again, their turn 2, if you play your cards right, they could knock out ADP in their second attack, which is great. It's really good. So that was decent. But the only thing about it was that Sword and Shield came. I'm not saying Sword and Shield is a bad expansion. It's an amazing expansion. It's just things changed from Sword and Shield. So when Sword and Shield came out, we went through a whole massive rule change that kind of shifted everything. So the whole thing about it is that 1 or 2 things changed. We couldn't use a support card turn 1. So if you started the game going first, you could not use a support card. Before Sword and Shield, we could do that. We could use the support card and then get it done that way. We obviously still can't attack going first, because obviously that's too broken. Obviously can't evolve turn 1, that's obviously broken. But the thing that also came up in Sword and Shield was the discontinuation of fairy types, which to me made it a massive issue. And then not only that, we also had Zacian come out in Sword and Shield, which not only is kind of a good thing, because then that would have been a one-shot on fairy types regardless, but because of how the game changed, it worked for Zacian perfectly. So now I'm going to transition on to Zacian. So again, Zacian came out in Sword and Shield. It was an amazing card. It still is an amazing card. And the thing that kind of bothers me about it is what it can do with the meta that's got played now. See, the whole rule change, I'm assuming, was to counter cards like Welder, which came out in Unbroken Bonds, lets you attach 2 fire energy, and then draw 3 cards. It was amazing energy attachment. It was energy accelerant. It's an amazing draw support for fire decks. It was amazing. People would use Reshiram and Charizard, use Welder, pop the 2 energy on, draw 3, somehow get another fire energy, and then that would be their GX. That would be Reshiram Charizard's GX attack for 200. In most cases, you could probably smash the whole game out just like that. You could smash the game in probably 2 or 3 moves if your opponent is not ready. But that kind of changed, and then transitioning onto Zacian, which is where things came really awkward. So, gosh, it is a bit difficult. So, okay, so Zacian has a decent amount of HP. It's kind of the middle ground for Pokemon Vs right now. 220. That's kind of like the mid ground of Pokemon Vs. We've seen less, we've seen higher. Its ability is once during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, attach any number of steel type energy cards you find there onto this Pokemon, and put all the other cards onto it into your hand. And once you use it, your turn ends. You can use Zacian. Your Zacian is basically your supporter for turn 1, because the whole rule of attacking first is gone anyway, so turn 1, that's just irrelevant for Zacian. On top of that, it's energy accelerant, so by your turn 2, if you really want to, you could smash the whole game out with Zacian. If you have your cards lucky enough to have 2 steel types, and then another steel type in your hand by either your next draw or the draw you had prior, you've got 3 energy. That's your 3 energy ready and done with. And then not only that, it's not even that you put you shuffle whatever isn't steel energy into the deck, you keep them. Which means that if you're struggling on draw support, say for example a Cynthia or a Professor's Research, and Zacian gives you it, it doesn't just go back into the deck, you keep it for next turn, which means you get even more chances to then get the energy that you need. And then on top of that, they included cards like Metal Saucer, which I said back when I was talking about ADP, that lets you attach energy onto metal Pokemon, steel type energy onto steel type Pokemon, which then with Professor's Research can be done easily, very, very easily. You just slap on Professor's Research, discard the steel energy, hoping that you get steel Metal Saucer, use it, and then onto Zacian, you're done. That's it. And then on top of that, if you do Zacian's attack, which again is 3 steel energy, 230, but they can't attack, all you can do is literally retreat, slap the energy back on, pop a switch, bring back Zacian, you can do it. Sure, that's a complex way to do things, but it's still a way. A lot of people have been using Switch now as well. A lot of people have been using Switch. Ever since we lost Floatstone, gosh, like what, about 2 years ago? Everyone's just been popping Switch. Or like things like Mallow and Lana. So you could still use things like Dormwings to Krosnar comboed with Air Balloon, but then you might as well just use Air Balloon for Zacian anyway and charge up another Zacian. But the thing about this that I have a really big problem with is the whole combination of the two. With the way that the meta is, and the rule changes, and the discontinuation of fairy types, and then the whole not using your support card turn 1, Zacian and ADP have no weaknesses. And then on top of that, Zacian can also use things like Metal Frying Pan to not only just get damage taken away from him, but also weakness is irrelevant. So if we did want to say like, oh well, I can counter Zacian with a fire deck, like I can just use Reshiram and Charizard, right? They're still a top tier deck. Granted, they still are. Reshiram and Charizard is still amazing, but it's just with the game change, it's just harder. It's just a lot more difficult, because Zacian is technically this invincible wall that can basically hit you like crazy. Because with Zacian's attack for 230, plus with ADP's Altered Creation that does plus 30, makes it 260. Then if you add something like Vitality Span that gets you another energy, that gives you another 10 damage, that's 270. That's Reshiram and Charizard gone. That's they've countered their counter. It's its own self counter. It's insane. It's crazy the amount of things you can do with Zacian. And on top of that, Reshiram and Charizard can hit 230 for 4 fire energy. It can be done with Welder. It can be done. But with Metal Frying Pan, it can't be. That's a 2-turn attack. You've turned a 230 weakness attack into a 2-turn knockout, which is insane to me. So I think the whole thing that kind of bothers me with this is that the meta with ADP Zacian is completely busted. Like, I remember going to my tournament and I faced someone who had ADP Zacian, and even he said to me, this is broken. Like, no one understands why the combination of the rule changes, the discontinuation of certain types, and the new additions of cards came in a way that this literally is going to rock the format until ADP gets rotated. And which is going to be until another year, because we've only just got announced that we're going to get Team Up onwards in August. So until next August, a whole over 12 months away, this deck's just gonna rock everybody unless some new cards come in to get rid of it. But other than that, I can't really see much else. There are good cards. There are obviously ways to stand up against it, to make a good fight out of it. But you have to be really lucky with the cards. That's just the whole problem. With ADP Zacian, people have added in things like custom well, they used to add custom catcher. Now they add in Pokemon catcher. With Rebel Clash coming in, you can use things like Boss's Orders because you don't need to worry about draw because Zacian's just got your back at that point. And then just Boss's Orders just flushes them out. You've got Dedenne on top of that to take away your whole hand and then draw 6. That's another draw mechanic as well. But it's crazy to me how all of this is just played in for Zacian. And it's insane. You could say something like, oh, well, why not just use Zamazenta? Zamazenta would have been good if it prevented attacks from Pokemon Vs, but it's VMAXs. So Zamazenta in this case just can't be done. There are good tech ways to do it, but then it's just, you need just luck to be in your favor. Like, I wouldn't even mind keeping fairy types, because then that way we could at least use Gardevoir and Sylveon. Sure, we get a one-hit KO back with Zacian, but then at least we get that chance to take out ADP before ADP has a chance to turn the tables and it's a straight loss. And it's just that point now where it's just like, times where like I would go into a tournament or go into like, or just even playing a random ladder match in online and you see ADP Zacian, it's like, there's just no point. The whole point of online is to kind of either show off your deck, which granted you can because it's ADP Zacian. If you found the cards, you found the cards. Like, I obviously don't play, I'm not saying don't play this deck. I'm just saying the whole point of online is to experiment. Like, to see what cards fuse with what cards to make a new meta deck that might not even be heard of before. Cards that might not even, you might not even dream of doing, or might not even think of, oh, this might not be good, but then turns out being amazing. Like, it's just, that's just the whole point. But then when you just see cards like ADP Zacian running around everywhere, granted when they're both on their own, like ADP variants or Zacian Lucario Melmetal, I'm not fussed with that because it's a that makes it a challenge. It's not higher hit, it's not a higher damage, it's not anything like that. I just need to get past the walls, or I need to get past the increased attack. It's just the whole combination of, once I get ADP out the way, I have to hit at least 300 damage. But then who's to say that next time they won't just retreat and just use Zacian to just break my whole attack? Unless I find a Pokemon that can sit on the bench, gather up attack without being affected by gusting, like say for example Pokemon Catcher or Boss's Orders, and or not even that, can just have a Pokemon that can do 300 damage, or if anything, stop them retreating to Zacian, stop them using item cards, or just take off their energy. There are cards that can do that, but there are also cards that just aren't good that you might want to play. And it just kills the game for me. Not saying obviously like, oh, no one should use this deck, because granted, it's an amazing deck. It's an amazing deck. It's just, I would prefer to have chances to experiment properly with my cards. Like, once it comes to that point, then yeah, going into official like tournament matches and stuff like that, if I come across ADP Zacian, then that's me biting myself. That's me shooting myself in the foot because I wanted to be in a match where it mattered. But when it's a ladder match and you're experimenting and you face a top tier deck, it's like, there's no point. But that's kind of my opinion anyway, on like the ADP Zacian meta right now. Again, there's obviously other cards that have hit the meta. I know obviously the new Dragapult is in the meta. Things like the Morpeko VMAX could be in, like, is a decent bit in the meta. Obviously we've got our rotation out in August, which is going to change a lot of decks now, which is another thing. By the time the rotation comes, ADP Zacian probably isn't going to budge. You'll lose like 1 or 2 cards, but not enough where it will matter. Cynthia at best, but at that point you have Professor's Research, so it doesn't even matter. You still have the Dedenne on top of that as well, so it doesn't even matter. Half the cards that are in ADP Zacian, you probably won't lose. Again, like Galarian Berserker and stuff like that, you won't lose them. So it's just, this whole deck is gonna last until like next August. So for like another year, you're just gonna get ready to see ADP Zacian just rock the entire format. Unless another Pokemon comes in and smashes it, then that's great, because then that's another whole thing to look at. I know Charizard V Max is coming soon, which is gonna hit, I think, 300 damage, which sounds very doable, especially with Welder and triple acceleration energy. You can do it. It's very doable, which I'm probably gonna say that's probably gonna be the next card that's gonna change the meta. But even then, that's like, there is a way to counter it. So, and on top of that, it's like, even if you do say like, oh, Charizard VMAX is going to come and take out Zacian. Okay, that's fair enough, but ADP can literally come into, is best with either water or steel, which means ADP is just going to transition onto something like Lapras VMAX decks, or whatever water deck comes out in the meta after. Like, ADP or Zacian can literally just come out of nowhere and just say, you think you're the meta, but we're still here. We might not be together, but we're still here. Like, that's a crazy amount to think about. But that's just my opinion anyway. What do you guys think about ADP Zacian? Do you guys enjoy it? Do you guys find it a bit annoying when you play against it? Let me know what you think. If you guys have actually beaten ADP Zacian, maybe with like another random deck, let me know, because I'd love to see what decks can actually go toe to toe with ADP Zacian. But yeah, that's it for my opinion anyways, guys. I'll probably do more talks like this if you guys feel like we should talk about other stuff. But yeah, if you guys think about anything, let me know. If you guys want to share your opinion, let me know. But of course, obviously, if we're having a debate, just be nice to each other. It's just a friendly debate on what the meta is right now. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, always click like and always click another video. You guys are always welcome back, and I'll see you all later. Take care, guys. Okay, bye.